those of you who like Ferraris or cars in general, well, here's a game for you. This is Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. I may have butchered the pronunciation of that last one, but I do know how to pronounce Ferrari and Challenge. And that's what this game is. And this is on the PlayStation 3, and it's quite simply one of the best driving games I have ever played. There's just a few things that keep this game short of being possibly the greatest racing title. It comes close. It's an excellent racing title, but not the best. I'll get to the few negatives a bit later, but let's start with the immense list of positives. For starters, the driving in this game is fantastic. It's a simulation driving game, so if you're used to playing something like Ridge Racer or Burnout Paradise, this is completely different. This is even more of a simulation racing game than Forza 2 or the Gran Turismo series. I'd say it's probably more like Gran Turismo 5 Prologue than anything. It's actually very similar to that game. If you want Lamborghinis or Hondas or custom vans, El Caminos, Subaru Brats, you'll have to look elsewhere. The only cars we have in this game are Ferraris. So there's really not a whole lot to complain about because there's a whole lot of Ferraris. And most of us don't have a garage full of Ferraris in real life, but this game allows you to do that. There's more than 50 Ferraris in the game, I believe, according to the packaging, and you win them as you progress through the game. I've got about 8 or 9 of them now, and there's a nice variety of Ferraris in there. You can customize the paint job and even add some racing stripes in there. It's similar to the Forza 2 design tools, but not quite as intuitive. There's a nice collection of race courses in here, a number of which you will not get on other racing games like Forza 2 or the Gran Turismo series, and a number of them you will, like this one, Mugello. I have no idea how you pronounce these, but if you play Forza 2, this will look pretty familiar. I love the way it's recreated here. This game feels a bit slower than Forza 2 or the Gran Turismo games, and I think that's due to the fact that the racing environments are larger, not that you're actually driving slower or that the game itself is slower. It seems bigger. Braking in particular in this game is much more challenging than it is in the other racing games. You have to become very familiar with each of these different cars, how to brake into these turns and learn the tracks. It's a tremendous challenge. If you love driving games, I highly recommend you definitely look into this one. sound effects, the engine sounds, they're all incredible. And the detail modeling on the cars is equally impressive. There's a variety of race views that you can choose. Most importantly, to me at least, is the cockpit view, which is done very well here. Now, just a few of the negatives, and mind you, none of these take away the enjoyment of the game, but they are noticeable. It's not quite as smooth as some of the other racers out there, not quite as smooth as the F1 game on the PlayStation 3. If you look closely at the details, you'll notice just a few things that are slight issues. For instance, the smoke from the other cars, it'll hover in the air for a moment and then just disappear. Although the rain looks great, if you look closely, there's just a couple things they just didn't finish. The opponent AI is very challenging, and actually that's a lot of fun. They're aggressive drivers, which is different than many other racing titles. There's a bit of damage modeling on the car. I don't think it actually affects the performance, or at least I haven't found an option that does that yet. So you can bump some of the other cars around a bit, which you have to do to get ahead of them at times, and they're going to smash you right back. And the thing is, sometimes they'll run into your car and just sort of hang there, and it just seems a little glitchy at times if they're running into your car and just pushing you in one direction. Also, the opponents in the rearview mirror look weird. So watch the video closely and just take a look at that. The menus aren't as good as some of the other A-list titles out there. There's some interesting musical selections in the menus, like a Wu-Tang Clan style rap track in the background of a couple of the menus, which wouldn't have been bad if they'd have just hired the Wu-Tang Clan. Maybe in the next game. Wu-Tang FERRARI driving. Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be such a good game. And sometimes there's trees that pop in the graphics in the distance, and I'm only being this particular because I like this game as much as I do, and because they're so close to perfection. There, did you see that? That quick little freeze? That's my biggest gripe with the game. It's like the video chokes on itself at times. There's times where it just seems to hang up the screen a bit, just for a split second. When you're driving, there's a lot going on screen. It's as if it just freezes for just a split second, like a 20th or 30th of a second. And I've seen that happen with some other driving games, but it seems to happen here more often than other ones. Also, there's no speedometer in the cockpit view of most of the cars I was driving, which is kind of interesting. I'm looking everywhere for it, but you just end up driving without really knowing how fast you're going, which I suppose could be more realistic, but you end up figuring out on each track where to brake, depending on what gear you're in or what your car sounds like. And that's the end of part 1. In part 2, I'll get into more of the actual tournament racing, the challenges, the arcade mode, the trophy mode. And you know I like driving games on this show, and this one is up there with some of the really great driving titles, and surpasses them in some ways. So check it out, and see you back here in part 2.